look forward to being of service to you. The following program does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, ownership of the station. Jay and Janine are expressing their own opinions, and such is not a substitute for psychological or mental health advice. If you are experiencing an emergency, please hang up and call 911.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show, where we're talking everything personal development, coaching, health, and the law. I'm your host, Jay, here with co-host Janine.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Please join us on Facebook, where we can be found at the Momentum Mindset Show. And if you want to call in and be part of the show, we would love to hear from you. It's 888-565-1470. And if being on live radio is not your thing, no problem. Send us your comments and we will interact with you on Facebook.
Let's create some momentum.
Yes.
And welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm your host, Jay Farrow.
And I am Janine Davis. Welcome, everybody. It's the first Friday in October.
And you know what that means?
What?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Janine. Happy birthday to you.
Aw, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, it's my birthday.
The actual day, everybody.
The actual day.
Yes.
Thank you for the acknowledgement and for the beautiful singing.
And we put it on a Friday this year.
Yes. We managed to put it on a Friday. I don't know, that kind of thing.
Works out for you.
But I gotta say, I woke up this morning and life is by no means perfect. We know that. We work together, so we certainly know that. Circumstances show up, all kinds of things show up. But I know that I will never be as young as I am in this very moment. And I'm also aware that it is a huge privilege to age, especially because there's been no better time to be in your 40-something as it is today. And some of the most beautiful women in the world, most beautiful and powerful women in the world are in their 40s and 50s today. So I feel really blessed and privileged, and amen, and thank God. And I woke up on the right side of 6 feet.
I was talking to my girlfriend last night, and I mentioned my age, and then the word middle age came in for me.
Sure.
And she said that middle age technically isn't until you're 50.
Oh my God, that's the best news I've heard all day.
So, thank you for that, honey.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
And thank you.
Welcome to the show. What did you say to me on the way here? Panic doesn't equal what? Panic isn't progress? What is it?
Panic doesn't pay.
Panic doesn't pay.
Panic doesn't make your bank account richer, fuller, more.
Right.
Panic doesn't resolve anything. Panic does nothing other than rob you of joy and ultimately the creativity to create what you need to generate in your life. So it's a huge zapper. And if I've learned anything in entrepreneur land, it is that panic is actually the enemy of my growth, and certainly does not contribute to anything that I need to do. Now, that being said, there are moments of panic, but I recognize that I've become extremely disciplined on handling that.
Okay.
For myself, because I'm able to.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about doing this on this show? What are we talking about panic? Because, you know what? The word panic and the word entrepreneur should go together. I think that
they go together like peas and carrots.
It's a synonym of entrepreneur is the word panic. And I've recently, and when I say recently, I'm saying in the last few
2
weeks.
to 3 weeks.
But I'm saying in the last number of days. By the way, we just got back from New York, where we saw a guest that we had in a show.
Right. One of our clients.
Right.
Janine Robledo is a wonder, you guys. I have to tell you something.
We saw the show, the Curious Contents of Christie's Wastebasket, and its premiere on a stage on Broadway or off Broadway.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I could never have imagined what the what the piece would even be about. I mean, the title is so quirky and awesome that I was like, okay, this is going to be a fun ride. But I have to say, the level of imagination, ingenuity, and ultimately heart that this piece brought forth was something that I am truly astounded by. And holy moly, talk about you cannot judge a book ever by its cover, because Janine is very she's reserved. She's a lovely, beautiful girl, has such a... But what lies beneath those still waters, this is what is so exciting to me.
The story so fits in with the work that we're doing here, because the contents of Christie's wastebasket were, Christie was a writer.
The protagonist is a writer.
But someone who was just turned 30, and she was trying to figure out what she's going to do with her life. So she decided to become a writer, and she had all these stories that she didn't finish, and all these characters that she just didn't finish, and all these characters that she had thrown away into her wastebasket came alive one night and became alive into her apartment. And it's this fascinating interaction between these characters that were all unfinished in their own right, but all perfect in a certain sense, and all had possibilities in front of them. And one of them was called The Unfinished Man. And that was like, and
that
just
was really
the concept of unfinished man really fits into what I've been talking on this show for the last almost year. Specifically, like for me, is that concept of, I want to create something in life. I have a vision of who Jay Farrow is going to be. Okay, in a couple of years. This show right now is basically telling the story of how I did it and you did it, going to our respective visions in the world.
Yeah.
If we were to stop,
oh no,
that Jay Farrow is the unfinished man. And when I say that it's a matter of life and death,
it is.
of doing this work and continue to do the work of transformation, it means that if I stop doing what I'm doing, it means that Jay Farrow doesn't get a chance to live. The one 100%. That I have a vision. That becomes the unfinished Jay Farrow, that story that never gets to be fulfilled because I stopped writing it. And it was just such a profound symbol to see that character, because really for the last week I've not been feeling myself. I really haven't. I've had shortness of breath. I've had a couple of things hit me, and even I just talked to our good friend Dr. Mills on the way over here, and he's like, bro, you got to get yourself checked out, my friend.
I know. And this is me. I'm like all woo-woo. I'm like, no, it's because you're emerging from the cocoon and you're going to this or whatever. And the doctor gets on the phone and he's like, dude, you could be having a cardiac event. Get to... And I'm like, no, your old self is dying. Woo-woo-woo.
Now,
so contrast.
I believe that there's part and parcel of all of this. It's like, yes, the old me is emerged from not the old me. The new me is emerged from the cocoon. I'm going through really what real life is like with being out in the world.
Yeah.
And I started experiencing, if I'm going to think back now, for about a year and a half, I didn't go out. I was staying in. I was getting up at 3:45 in the morning, going to the gym.
Right.
And then that night, or a couple nights that we went out with your friends, about
the first night you really had panic.
It was panic.
That was really, really challenging for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now as I'm emerging from this and in doing the things that we're doing, it's real. Yeah, it's all real.
Is.
So this week, what's come up is really the thought of really stepping into my vision, working it every single day, thinking in possibility. Because if I don't, the guy that I want to create doesn't get a chance to exist.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I'm so proud of about this show, is that no matter what it's taken, we keep going with it.
We keep going, we keep showing up, and again, we live in the messy middle, right? So we're well on our way in the journey, but we're nowhere near done, and we're still growing, expanding. And I posted something on Facebook the other day, which I thought was really cute. It was a picture of Jim Carrey saying that, sometimes when you're on your way and you're moving forward, but then you take a couple of steps back, it's really just the cha-cha. And don't worry about it, because you're still moving forward, even if you have a couple of setbacks. And I think that, It is. My niece said to me when I had a small surgery like a couple weeks ago. And of course, when you're going under anesthesia, I'm super dramatic. I'm like, oh my Lord, I'm always afraid of that. But so she wrote me this really beautiful thing. And it made me, first of all, it made me feel really young because she said, you have so much to do yet. And so I know because of that, nothing is going to happen to you because I know she was saying like the world needs you and I need you and all of that stuff, and I thought it was really beautiful, and it fits into the whole dynamic of what we're saying and the play that we saw, which was so beautiful because ultimately the world does need those stories. So Christy was able to resolve her characters and give them the freedom of that sort of resolution, and that's kind of what we're doing. We're resolving a lot of things that are in flux, a lot of personal and interpersonal things, while still living life, while also doing litigation of the likes that was only but a dream a year ago.
Right.
It was really only but a dream, and people don't realize like the heaviness of that. And I give you a lot of credit, Jay. Like you may not see me breathing into a paper bag, but I feel that at times, and I feel your energy very much at times too. And it takes an enormous amount of discipline for me to stay steady.
I'll say this.
But I will say, like, wow, and well done. And lest you forget, I won't let you forget how incredibly brave you are to be putting out the work that you do against the people you are going after. And it's a big deal. It's a very big source of pride to be a part of that, because ultimately it is justice.
And then I actually, maybe part of this is that I underestimated how deep the badness goes in the cases that I found.
Ooh, yeah, bad to the bone.
And in diving into, let's just call it the badness, the void of the badness of the people that are on the other side of my cases. I couldn't imagine the lives that are affected.
Right.
And I'm not just talking about my client. I'm talking about the lives that are actually affected by people that don't have a voice. And we used to talk about this all the time. Like, we support people that don't have the voice. What we were talking about was our clients. Let me tell you something. There's more than our clients that we're supporting by doing the work that we're doing.
Absolutely, because there's a reverberation here that goes well beyond the courtroom. It really is standing up for people who don't have attorneys or don't have the sort of support that we're providing to our clients. It's beyond that because of the work that we're doing. We're sending a message to business as usual. And that has been a huge value that we've had and been supporting this whole time. We want to change the conversation of the way people are treated in the workplace and against bullying in the workplace.
And I will say that, I've talked to people. We received a death threat. I've spoken to people that she received the death threat.
I did.
I'm not joking about it anymore because
No,
there's more stuff
I
going
know.
on that now
Yeah.
we're aware of. It's like it's
Yeah.
not even funny anymore.
Right.
Some people that I
It
talk
never
to
was funny, actually.
Some people that I'm talking to are like that are deathly afraid of actually speaking up. But
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the voices that the people that don't have a voice aren't just the people that we're happy to represent. There is a ripple effect to the
Yeah.
work that we're doing.
Absolutely.
And that also comes with it an awesome sense of responsibility
Yes, it
for
does.
continuing what you're doing, because what we're feeling from the other side and what's coming back to us is it's shocking, and it has its own sense of energy of how is that possible? Like, I thought what I knew, but I had no concept of how rotten to the core
Right.
some people can get to. Anyway, so
Yeah.
all of that is playing into knowing how steep the mountain is, and how the climb is now coming to a point where there's completely uncharted territory,
Yeah.
and we're doing what other firms don't dare do. I've spoken to other lawyers that are petrified to
Yeah.
do the work that we're doing, and say good for you, like on the down low. But at the other side, we couldn't handle something like that.
Exactly.
And some lawyers that are coming along with us now,
Yes.
that are actually like, we wouldn't have done that yesterday, but because of the work that you're doing,
Yeah.
we're willing to take the steps out for
Absolutely.
our clients that we
Yeah.
wouldn't otherwise have done, and we're not going to be afraid of the big bad wolf, so to speak. So
Exactly.
I'm really, really proud of that. And so that's what's coming up this week is
Yeah.
it's the there's I call it like the panic, because there's like running the business there's that too.
Yeah.
And then there's also the other work that we're doing. We
Yeah.
do have a guest.
Yeah, we have
we
a
do?
very exciting guest, actually, who we're going to bring on the other side of the break, right? And we're super excited. Dr. Ada Feliz is in the house, and she is going to talk about all things wellness, physical therapy, your body, being in touch, optimum movement. Well, I'll let her take it away, sorry. But
All right, so we'll be back right after this break.
thank you, everybody.
Farrow Law Firm, standing up to corporate bullies, using innovative, aggressive, and effective strategies to resolve disputes effectively and timely. Contact us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm. We look forward to being of service to you.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show, everybody. It's Friday, October the 4th. Happy birthday one more time to
Happy birthday, Janine.
Janine.
Thank you.
And I want to welcome our guest, Dr. Ada Feliz. And she's my physical therapist. And
mine.
and I went to go see you because I was having issues with my knee, and you're like, well, that's not exactly that's not the whole deal here.
Right.
And you have a way of explaining it that it all made sense to me, and I really appreciate the work that we're doing, and I'm feeling better. And there's a couple other things that I want to talk to you about my health, like that's been coming up for like the last week and a half.
Yeah.
But I mean, your approach. Or let's talk about it a little bit. Like, how did you get into the world of
Yes,
of
please tell us how
physical
you started,
therapy?
how you became a physical therapist.
So it's an interesting story. It started when I was in high school, really. I've been an athlete my whole life, and when I was in high school, I played soccer, I ran track, and I cheered, and I was just constantly on the move. Mm-hmm. And what was interesting, I had my first injury when I was, I think about 15, my freshman year, and I sprained my ankle and had an athletic trainer, went in for a certain amount of visits, and then I was back in the field probably within like 6 to 8 weeks. And what was amazing, it was a really humbling experience to kind of go through when I was 15, but then to see what my body could withstand, and then to be able to go back on the field and participate in the activities that I wanted to participate was a huge just booster. And then unfortunately, as the years went by, though, every year I had an injury. It was like the weirdest thing. To the year, it was like another sprained ankle, and then
I feel like this is an athlete's life, though.
well, I mean, there's
Right,
adaptations
kinda?
that do
Yeah.
occur. My biggest injury was when I was 16, though, and what I didn't know is that then it was a stress fracture, but it was misdiagnosed as a muscle strain in my back. So when you're a teenager, you don't really have a concept of what's what. It's just kind of like I wanted to get back on the field, and that was really like my first awakening. And then again, I went through rehab, I adapted, I got better, so I thought. But then the issue was these little recurring injuries that I would kind of get injured and then get treatment and then go back on the field, but then get re-injured, if not a year later or months later. And then really when I was 30, after I had my daughter, I was at a point where I couldn't even walk after I had her.
Oh my goodness.
When
What
I
was
went,
going on?
So when I went to the doctor, and because I was like mystery diagnosis, and they couldn't figure out what it was. They're like, it's something systemic. Maybe you have rheumatoid arthritis. Maybe this is an autoimmune issue. And really, what it ended up being, it was a compilation of all the injuries that I had had. And then, yes, when you have a child, your body does become inflamed. I don't sleep as much. We were moving across the country at that point in time. My husband was a full-time military. So there were other stressors, but I didn't kind of like look at the big picture. It was just like, well, what's going on with my body? Is it failing me? And then when I think Sophia was like 6 weeks, I remember just like hobbling to her room thinking, this is just not right.
Yeah.
So I made it a mission to just really invest in learning about myself. But it started when I was a teenager, just learning about the body, really becoming like intrigued and seeing how amazing we are as human beings, how we have the ability to heal and to be able to do the things that we want to pursue. For me back then, it was running, it was soccer, it was cheerleading. I mean, it was just like all these different things. I just love to express my body through movement.
Now, what is your degree exactly, and
Yes.
your specific training? Do you have like a specialty?
So I'm a doctor of physical therapy. So a clinical doctor is basically now any entry-level physical therapist that wants to be a physical therapist has to go through 4 years of undergraduate, typically. And usually it's like a pre-med track. And then 3 years of physical therapy school.
Okay.
So within physical therapy school, you have a significant amount of education in differential diagnosis, in anatomy, in neurophysiology, and you've got to be able to work the gamut from somebody in the ICU to a traumatic brain injury to a sports injury. And then maybe sometimes you have the combination of somebody who had a stroke and had a total knee replacement. So you have to know the extent of what's going on systemically in the body with other systems, but then also really understand what movement is. And that really we are movement experts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, you were saying that one of the things that struck me when I came to see you, because I went to see you because I had my itch, my twitch. I felt so old I couldn't walk without feeling pain here. I was like, what is going on? And I'm like, oh, I know. Exercise is the villain. It's CrossFit. It's trying to do me in. No, Janine.
No.
That would be a very convenient chubby girl narrative, but it's not the case. So you were talking to me about optimal movement,
Correct.
also, and that how much the body wants to heal itself once you sort of set it in the motion of the optimal movements. And that I thought was so fascinating. And unlike other PT I've been to, you asked me, how you sleeping? How you eating? Like it was so much more in depth,
Right.
and I really appreciate that approach. So could you talk to us a little bit about how you came to make your own sort of brand of wellness?
Yes. And to answer your question, Jay, as far as my specialty, so I tend to work, I've been working in the arena of sports and orthopedics. So that's really what I specialize in. And then Janine, in terms of the approach that I now have, because I really do think, people tell me, they're like, this is so different from unlike any other physical therapist I've been to. So I think that really it's in understanding what a human being is. So a human being is a complex adaptive organism. And even in that, right, what is complexity? We're not machines. We don't break per se. I mean, we have traumatic injuries that happen, but the body adapts. Right? So let's say someone, for instance, like me, right? I technically broke my back. I had a stress fracture, and then it healed. Am I still broken because I broke my back? No. There's adaptations that are constantly occurring. So you have to take into consideration what environment is that organism in, the human being. And our environment these days is our work, our children, whatever activities we're a part of, and then really understanding the quality of everything that we do, from the moment we get up to the moment we fall asleep. Are we aware of how we're holding ourselves? Are we aware of how much time we're looking down at our phones? Are we aware of all these different things? And it's not to say that you're going to be like, again, we're not robots.
Right.
But it's just accounting for, are you consistently creating an environment that supports whatever it is you want to do? So if it's CrossFit, what does it look like in terms of recovery? Are you squatting appropriately?
Right.
Are you able to lift your arms overhead? And
Right.
what does that look like? And then at work, do you have moments where you can breathe? Are you aware of how you're breathing? Are you breathing in through your nose? All these little things that sometimes I think we don't realize are so automatic.
Right.
See, this is what came up when I was thinking about some of the information I got from you. You had mentioned to me that when you saw me, I looked like I was hyperventilating. And that's exactly how it felt. This is like about a week and a half ago. And then ever since then, it's like I go through these bouts where it's like I'm okay during the day, and then a couple hours will go by, I'm just breathing through those couple of hours. And I'm looking at for the last year and a half, I've been on this rigorous workout regimen and diet regimen, and not really questioning why or if it was even working so much. I was actually just doing it. Like I was able to do it, and that was getting some results that I wanted. like my physique. But I'm just noticing that maybe there's like that there's more to it. I don't know how to put it else than that, to kind of really reevaluate exactly what I'm eating, exactly what how I'm working out. And it might just be that the amount of weights and everything else I'm doing right now is too much for what I'm doing. It's time to like course correct, because there's just something going on with me right now that I can't put my finger on. But it's just like for this last week, I haven't been able to get to the gym. So I started to think about everything that you've been saying to me in the sessions, and what I'm connecting with is that all of these things work together, as well as mindset.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the other things that we had talked about.
Yes, that you're a big proponent of. Which again, you don't usually hear about that at the physical therapist.
You know,
and that's amazing. That really is amazing, because it really does come down to mindset of what you're gonna what.
It certainly fits.
Right. So. As far as mindset is concerned, what are some of the things that you coach people into, or that you talk to people about?
You know, when we talk about mindset, and you're hearing this a lot more in working with athletes or performance mindset, you know, really like our psychology really drives our decision making. So it's only, to me, it's like only obvious that we have to talk about that, because if I'm asking someone to come in and they have a certain sensation in their body, and certain things are, you know, out of order or kind of like in a little bit of chaos, right? Mm-hmm. And we want to bring that homeostasis, then we have to talk about radical changes. And empowering people to do that is not me telling you, Jay, this is what you need to do. It's, Jay, let's figure out a plan together that can allow us to see why you're not making the choices that you feel would be more appropriate to the desired outcome. The outcome not being the goal, but really the process, falling in love with the process. So from a mindset standpoint, what I tell people, I try to keep it simple. These days, I'm like, I've talked about growth mindset. I've talked about like, what really have I noticed, you know, in a changing me, because I have a coach that I work with who's been a huge influence with what I do. His name is Joe Sansalone, and I've had tremendous mentors throughout my career, but he's really been instrumental in the change that I've seen in the last 4 years in my life, but then also in my practice.
Wow.
And with mindset, I would say 3 Ps and having faith. So having faith in your body's ability to heal. And if you
That's
do,
a big one.
It is. And if people do have a faith in something else that they believe in, to bring that into the picture as well. But
so what you're saying right now is extremely important. I mean, I think more critical than anything else is that faith that you have the ability to heal yourself. I mean, because no matter how I feel, I know I'm going to be okay. I just don't want to go through the whole getting okay process. But there's not a question in my mind: is Jay going to be okay?
Right.
You know,
there's
is Jay going to survive?
It's like
there's nothing. There was never a part of me when I was sick that says that that was going to be the end of me. I was like, nah, this is not happening to me. I don't want to go through it. I'm going to go through it, but that mindset of not a chance on earth is this not going to work.
Right. There was a resolve in what you knew.
Right.
And it was like there wasn't evidence. There was just, and this was something that my coach brought up, because, you know, being an entrepreneur, having my own business, and I have a little 6-year-old. We have a niece that's 21 who's like a second child to me. And recently our dog, Buddy, has been having these seizures, and this dog was like, it's like my first born. Yeah. So multiple things going on, and it was just like, okay, Ada, how are you going to get to the gym? You committed to 3 times a week. What is that going to look like? And in a loving way, my coach is like, you have to see it like it's done, like it's already done, and how do you get to make it happen? So bringing that same resolve in what you knew your health was going to look like to like, okay, this is what the week looks like. It's done. And then you go into the week like that. And consistently.
Because what my body's telling me, what it's telling me is,
for us
Jay,
thank you.
I'm willing to do anything, but I want to do the right thing.
Right.
In other words, I've already proved, like, it's talking to me. It's like, you know I'm going to show up for you. If you want to go work out 5 days a week and you want to, I'm going to do it. But do it in such a way that maximize your result. And I want to feel peak. I want to feel peak energy. I want to feel that peak focus. I want to feel that is the result, not what I'm looking at in the mirror anymore, because I've gotten past that. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm going to look good no matter what, and I'm happy, more than happy. I'm ecstatic with who I look like now.
And you're not defined by that, right? Because it's important to understand that, at least what I've noticed in working with different people, is that sometimes we define ourselves by what we see.
Yeah.
I know for me, you know, I taught group exercise for many years, and how am I going to get in front of a class of 30 to 50 people or as a physical therapist and not embody health. I just felt like it was out of integrity for me.
Yeah.
But there was a point after I had my daughter where I couldn't even walk. You know, so it's like, how does that work? I had to make some changes to my diet and also realize that I am not the definition of my muscle. I am not the number that is on the scale. I'm not defined by that. My worth comes from knowing that I just am me, and that's it.
That's really powerful, because I think that people get so caught up with the image in the mirror, and while it's really important to love and
I'm not
admire
saying it's not important,
the reflection, there is something deeper, because we are ultimately our souls are much more expansive than just the bone and the marrow and the
it's interesting that you say that, Janine, and in our culture, really, and even when I work with patients, like, it's something that I don't always navigate that kind of conversation, because I try to keep it more so objective. But I do feel that we are spiritual beings, we are emotional beings, and we can negate the fact that sometimes, some weeks, like, you're gonna have some stuff that happens at home or at work, and maybe that week what taking care of yourself looks like is resting and meditating a little bit more, or just getting your feet grounded and going to a park and looking at, like, little kids play. you know what I mean? Being present.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how that recovery for you looked when you had your daughter and you came from that you just couldn't walk. But I want to do that on the other side of the break, and we'll be right back in a second.
Thank you all for joining us.
Farrow Law Firm, standing up to corporate bullies, using innovative, aggressive, and effective strategies to resolve disputes effectively and timely. Contact us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm. We look forward to being of service to you.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show
With Jay and Janine. Give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
Welcome back one more time to the Momentum Mindset Show. We're here with Dr. R. Felice, and we were talking about health and physical therapy, and you had to go through a transformation of your own after you had your daughter, and that's an interesting story. I would like to share it with our audience if you could.
Absolutely. So that story, so my daughter's 6 now. She was born on September 11th, and throughout my pregnancy, I was feeling phenomenal. I'm like, this is what it's like to be pregnant. I can have 10 babies. I loved it. I remember running. I was part of a marathon relay into my 6th month,
Whoa.
And I felt great. And my doctors were like, you've been running. Like, I wasn't like, trying to get like a PR in my run or anything, but I felt good. Except within, I think probably like a month later, I was stretching and there was like this pull in my heel, and that kind of ignited this like swelling in the heel, in my feet, and everybody's like, oh, it's pregnancy weight and it's pregnancy swelling, it'll go away once your daughter's born. Except it didn't. And like, I waited 6 weeks and I was like, I can't even walk, this is just not. And then it continued. So at the time though, I was working on getting my doctorate, so there was a lot of stress. We were living in California, and then I moved to Florida. And it had been a year, and I remember thinking, how am I still in pain? And I went to work part-time, and really, there was a point where I felt like I couldn't even work if I wanted to work full-time. Right. So I saw myself thinking, like, am I going to be able to sustain my career? Because so much of what I do is manual therapy and standing and showing people movements. And then it persisted and continued, and then I met my coach, who now, this December, it'll be 4 years that we've been working together. And I remember the first time we sat down and he was talking to me about what I wanted out of our sessions. And I was like, I want to be able to go back to running. I was losing my mind. I felt like I had so much pent up energy and I did not know what to do with it. And it was really affecting my mental well-being. I was depressed and I didn't even know it. My husband had left for 6 weeks and he came back and he's like, you're not right. And I was just like, you've been gone for 6 weeks. What are you talking about being right? I'm like, how do you know? Right. We just moved. There was so much going on, and he had me take a stress test and everything was like burnout. And I remember thinking, like, what's happened to me?
Right.
It was like really like a dark moment. And then going through the tests of they couldn't figure out, they're like, something's not adding up, your blood work's not right. It's like, now you have to go to a rheumatologist. And then like I remember going to the rheumatologist and I walked in, and I mean with all due respect, like I have friends that are physicians and I truly respect the work that they do.
Yeah.
But I will always ask questions, you know. It's not to undermine them, but it's just really like I'm very curious as to, can it be anything else? And this rheumatologist was like, oh, you have fibromyalgia. And I was like, no, I don't. Like,
Right.
like why would you say that? Because you just touch certain points, like you know my history, you know. So I just didn't buy that, and then my inflammatory markers were all high. So my internal medicine doc was like, you know, let's try this. And I told her, I was like, I'm gonna go the holistic approach.
Yeah.
And back then I was working with another coach, Stephanie Gravina. She is the owner of ATP Performance Facility. Her and her husband Juan were really also part of that key in getting me better. And she was just like, Ada, why don't you alter your diet? Let's put you on an anti-inflammatory diet. And I was like, at this point, I'll try anything. So
Right.
I did
I'll
that.
eat dirt and with rocks. Yeah. Whatever.
And so she did blood work, and then I went on this anti-inflammatory diet where I was kind of like just a little gerbil, just eating fruits and vegetables. And then I took my blood work again 8 weeks later, and all my markers went down, and I felt a noticeable difference. And then 3 months later, I started working with my coach. And at that point, it was really just like the beginning of this like uprising, or like this, not a new version of me, but you know when you go through different periods of your life where you're just like, that was a wake-up call.
Right.
And what am I going to do now? And what am I about? And what am I really teaching people? And working with my coach, you know, the first 6 months, I was like imploding. I wanted to, like, we were using these bands, and I was like, I'm going to grab this band, and like, if I see another band, I'm going to lose my mind.
How many days a week are you doing that?
I was, he had me on a program where I was moving consistently 5 to 6 times a week. And then he would come down every month, and he would coach a group of us. And then we would meet with him individually. And it was really just the questions that he would ask me. I remember I couldn't stand on one foot, and I was trying to stand on one foot, and I was like, but I have nerve damage. I had broke that toe. I broke the right side of my back. And he was just like, stop. And he's just like, what are you making it mean that you can't stand on one foot? And I looked at him.
So pushing you.
Not even.
Wow.
It was
No, but
to
think
be
about the
deeper,
question.
to think about
Yeah.
about the real why.
Yeah, think about what is the reason why.
I was focusing on the inefficiency of the movement,
Yeah.
where
Right.
the
Yeah.
real why
Oh
was,
my gosh.
I have to be perfect, and if I don't do
Yes.
things well, then I'm not good enough.
Right.
I'm not
Like
good
when we
enough.
started
And
working together,
you're not going to do it at all.
and I couldn't stand
Even
on one.
deeper than that,
I
yeah.
couldn't stand on one foot, and I felt like my cage, my entire posture. I was like, wow, there's more things here that I want to admit, you know. And I want. So in other words,
sure.
if I can stand up straight, if I can actually do this for a second, then they won't notice. She won't notice that there's all this other stuff that needs to get fixed. And what's really
Right.
coming up for me right now is that now that I'm willing to do all this work, now it's time to actually look at the work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
As opposed to just showing up and just doing the same exercises over and over again and not asking questions.
Right.
It's like, I think that I've been doing more damage, not getting the rest I need. I mean, there's so much more to this than I can ever possibly imagine. And in the year and a half, I'll be honest with you, since I've been doing this, I haven't read a magazine about health. I haven't read anything else. I just said, okay, if you want me to do this, you want me to take this shot and put it in my belly, you know, I do shots every single night. You know, I don't know what I'm taking. I mean,
Right.
I do, but I don't. It's like, I just, it was recommended to me, and I'm doing it. And I know that it's safe, but my point is that there was a portion of this transformational journey where it was like, I just wanted massive change, and whatever that meant, it was just something different. I was going to do it. And if that meant if I was going to be in the gym 6 days a week, 2 times a day, that's what I was just going to do. And then, you know, now it's like, wait a second, there's if that's not producing the optimum focus, health, and everything else, because I can do it, but I'm not focused. I can do it, but I'm in pain. I can do it, but I'm not getting sleep.
At what
And
cost,
At
right.
what cost?
It's so true, that at what cost. And you've asked me some really profound questions too, and it really has given me pause to how movement. But one of the things that I feel like that has been so beneficial to me is really getting in touch with why and connecting to my body. I am someone who experiences at different times in my life, I've had a tremendous figure at different times in my life, yet all the while experiencing a tremendous amount of disconnection. And our work together has allowed me to reconnect, where I will actually like check in with myself and talk to my body and ask myself, what do I need right now? And I never stopped to do that before. So it's been extremely beneficial, aside from the fact that I can do this now.
Yeah.
I still have
wonderful.
I still have those bands still make fun of me, but that's okay. And you know, it's really been a really enlightening process, and the fact that you are so gentle and you have a very intuitive way of knowing like what the body needs. Like when I came off the surgery, yeah, we could have moved, but that's not what I needed. I actually needed some TLC. So it was it's a really profound experience, and no wonder it looks like, being someone who's gone through the process themselves, having the mentors that you've had in your life allows you to be more of who you are, which is really a healer.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, if I'm honest with myself, right, what I ask of my patients is like, am I living that? Am I able to speak from a place of integrity, where it's like, I've been there, and I can tell you that I was addicted to Oreos, and I couldn't even have them in the house because it was like this automatic thing where I was like a zombie.
Right. No, I
reaching for like, if I had access to it, a whole row of Oreos.
Sure.
Right. I know how quickly those like one or two Oreos can lead into what it leads into. Although, you know, what I've been going through the last week, I would say week and a half, with my dog had surgery. I mean, there's like so many different things that have come up, but I know that I asked. There's 3 humans. You're one of them that work on like my body. And
your team, yeah.
And I asked I asked Heather. I said, you know, would you guys be open for a conversation between the 3 of you, just to have like a Zoom call or something like that to say, okay, this is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on with me.
Yeah.
I don't feel
That's
like
such
I
a good
did
idea,
a week and
actually.
a half ago, or even like 2 months ago. 2 months ago, my diet was on point and everything else, but there's something else that's missing, and I think it's because my body's asking me, if you want to take yourself to the next level, you're gonna have to take some steps back. You're gonna take some steps back off of what you've been doing to start learning the movements, the form, and the correct things of what your body needs, not necessarily what the cookie cutter thing needs for what it would. Now that all that was great, it worked for when it worked. I mean, I went from 0 to, you know, taking my shirt off at the beach in 4 months and creating this body, and now my body's telling me something different, and and I know it, and it's that uncomfortable feeling, like it's like, wow, you know, it's like now I'm going to have to take all these steps back and actually learn how to do a squat like we were doing the other day.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Jay, because for some reason we see it as like a setback when we're doing less, instead of what's the environment that we want to create.
Yeah.
And then if optimization is the route, then it really isn't a step back. It's the steps forward to
100%.
create
I
what
was
you
just
want to
thinking
create.
that as well. I'm like,
And
it
even
doesn't
that,
really-
and even the perspective of seeing those kind of things, I think that's also a conversation about mindset, where why is rest seen as a setback instead
Right.
of it being one of the primary things that allows us to perform even at a more optimal
I actually
state.
heard that
And I would think that too.
You know, because
Usain Bolt increased his time and his ability to run the way he does, and he attributes it, number one, rest. He trained less. He trained differently in order to achieve the result, and he's the fastest man in the world. So it's a really interesting way to think about it. It's a re-education, right?
Everything that's shown up in my life to where I'm sitting right now is saying that, you know, if I want everything in my life to work, from my relationship to my business and everything else, it's just to take a look at what I was doing and how I was doing it. Because when I'm knocking myself out completely in the gym, I mean, I'm no good. I mean, I'll go home and I'll take a nap for a couple hours, and then I miss this at work, and then I'm like this, and I'm just going from here to here to here, and noticing all that and saying, all right, maybe it's just a thought of coming to terms with an acceptance of, okay, if I even want to call it taking a step back by not going into the gym and killing it like I was. Okay, call it a step back, and then I'm okay with that.
That's true.
And even if it is a step back, then then
It's the cha-cha.
Then fine. Because
The
then
cha-cha.
then when I'm talking about this with somebody, you know, some years from now, I'm going to say, listen, take your step back and your step forward at the same time. You know,
I like that, Jay.
Because in order for me to understand this right now, I'm looking at it as a setback. But if I can accept the setback, in other words, if I can accept, like, okay, I'm going to start learning just going back to form level, to learning how to do this again, so that way when I'm 90 years old, I'm riding that bike.
Yeah.
That Jay Farrow is this what this looks like. This worked for what it worked, but now I'm going to.
You know, and on that topic, Jay, too, what I got present to when you said that is what I tell, and you know, when I talk to my patients about creating this program of movement, is really understanding the fundamentals, right? Understanding the simplicity of movements like rolling, crawling, hinging, squatting, walking, right? Looking at that and then building from simple to complex, you know, and being able to realize that it's steps in the process.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. I want to finish this on the other side of this break, because we're
I know we're like trekking on through
because this is like I'm so happy we're talking about this.
Me too.
Because
I think first of all, it's fascinating, and I love the whole integration. And I also want to say, some of your darkest hours, and this is huge into momentum, some of the darkest hours that we have as human beings, challenging times, yield the most unbelievable fruit. And you're a testimony to that, so that's very exciting.
Thank you.
Also.
So we'll be right back after this message from
Everyone.
my law firm.
Farrow Law Firm, standing up to corporate bullies, using innovative, aggressive, and effective strategies to resolve disputes effectively and timely. Contact us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm. We look forward to being of service to you.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show.
Hello,
and we
everyone.
were just having a laugh about
Welcome
our
back.
sponsor. And it will continue to be our sponsor.
Apparently, we sponsor well. That's what we're doing.
So we're back with our guest, Dr. Ara Felice. We had your husband on a few weeks ago, and he killed the interview, as you are
So
as
good.
well. So Luis,
Hey, Louise. I'd also like to give a
Thank
shout
you for
out to
writing in.
Desi, who is watching right now. I don't
And-
know if she's ever watched before, but she was my college roommate and one of my dearest friends in life. And we haven't spoken in a long time, but I want to tell you that you're always on my mind, and I love you.
Glennie, thank you for all your support
Yes,
as
thank you
always.
to everybody.
Cheryl and Kim, we're going to connect
Michael
this
Compagno,
weekend.
thank you for your viewership.
Mike.
And Kim DeLuca.
So we thank you all for that's your husband.
That's
writing
your
in.
husband chiming in. That's my baby.
Getting back just to one, I want to touch on that mindset thing a little bit, going back to whatever you believe that you can accomplish with your body and your mind is going to basically be the catalyst for any of that. One of the things that I said as a start, because I asked this of when we have people that work with healthcare and bodies and physical therapy. We had my personal trainer on. How would you start? Like, in other words, if someone's out there and they're like, okay, I'm ready to do something with my body. I'm ready to, get rid of that ache and pain and stuff like that. I'm afraid. I mean, first of all, how can they get in touch with you? But after you say that, how does someone start? I say just get out and go for a walk, do something. But what is something that you would suggest that's something that's small, measurable, and something that someone could do to get started towards their physical health?
I would say definitely connect with someone that is an expert in the field. And I say this, Jay, because sometimes we think we know that what we're doing is like the thing that we need to do at that moment in time, except we don't realize that could be the very thing that could make your symptoms worse, you know?
Right.
So I think it's
True.
I think it's important to be able to connect with community, and if people are local, yes, it'd be awesome if they could and even now virtually.
How would they reach out to you? Like, in other words,
they can via Instagram or Facebook, themovementtherapyinstitute.com.
a little slower.
Well, oh, sorry. So our website is themovementtherapyinstitute.com, and then we're also on Facebook and on Instagram. So they can message us, they can email us, they can go on our website. or give us a call as well. We can schedule some time to talk if people have any questions too. I've had sometimes friends that call, or a new patient that just simply has questions, and we'll schedule a
take
time.
questions, because most
I
of the
do.
time the biggest thing is making that phone call. It's like the 500-pound telephone,
Yeah.
and
Make a phone call.
make a phone call. So they could just call you and just say, I'd like to set up an appointment, and then the first appointment is small, because like the tiniest, the longest journey begins with the smallest step.
Right.
What does the first consultation with you look like? I mean, or how small is it? I mean, how do you tailor it towards the person? Because I'm trying to get that person out of their chair to actually do something.
Absolutely, yes. So if they're local, I would say, again, I conduct different community workshops. So we have, and these are complementary, like at different gyms. We talk about knee pain. I just had one recently at Shooting Stars is an indoor soccer community, and we did a workshop on the soccer athlete, and it was awesome because we had parents there, and some of the kids, I mean, as young as 10, and there was, I think, a 12 or 13-year-old there, and they're listening to how to take care of their bodies at that young of an age.
That's fantastic.
Have another workshop coming up where we're doing optimization classes. Tomorrow, I'm teaching at Driving Force CrossFit from 10:30 to 11:30, and this
Where
is
is
also,
that? Where
this
is
is in Pembroke Pines.
Okay.
And the class is going to be an hour. We're going to talk about movement. I'm going to take people through a whole fundamentals class, basically.
Okay, what's the number they can reach you at if other than if they
Yes.
wanted to get a hold of information for tomorrow? Or
So for tomorrow, they can call us at 954-591-4271.
It's so funny, nobody remembers phone numbers anymore.
I know.
You've got to exercise that mind, right? With the numbers. Yeah.
Yes, and we'll put it on just to make sure if we
Yeah,
can put
actually,
it
I'll
on there
put it
as
on
well.
the page right I'll type it into the page
Perfect.
for information.
591-4278. 78. That's what it was.
and it's never too late to get started.
It's not.
And no matter where you are in the
4278.
journey, it's never too, like you can always learn more. And I'm just speaking vulnerably today on this show for the first time about how I've been feeling lately, and if it is a step back, it's a step back. If it's a step forward, it's a step forward. I mean, I think they're not mutually exclusive. I'm just been just going through it. I mean, you've seen me over the last maybe couple of weeks. But one thing that I'm most proud of is I'm willing to listen. And even when I was talking to my friend Dr. Mills on the way up here today, and he's like, "Hey, you got to go in and get checked out, tonight." I was like, "All right, I'll get checked out." But that thing is what I know hurts me. What I think that I know about my health hurts me. Because just because I
No
think that I'm
truer
going to the
words
gym,
have said.
because I think that I'm eating something right, doesn't mean it's right for my body.
Right.
And that's why everything's telling me, Jay, you got to take another fresh look at this. And as vulnerable as going to be, and you may have to scrap everything and build a new foundation, and that may be for this next period of growth. And that's because whatever was working before, okay, honor it for what it was, and now take a look at this fresh start with the fresh life that you're building, with everything that you have in it, and it's now time to remap it.
Yeah.
And saying goodbye to yesterday is hard, especially when I found so much strength in 3:45 in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning when I was there by myself. And now I have other things in my life that are very, very important to me that I'm adding in, and everything is growing at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so for me to try to fit the Jay Farrow of yesterday into what's going on right now, it's just not working.
You're evolving.
All right. So when you said the thing about the cocoon, you're not the only person who said that to me. They're using those exact words. And that's what I feel like. I've gotten out of this one cocoon, and now it's like, okay, now I'm looking to spread my wings for a while, and I'm going through all of what that takes.
Absolutely. It is. It's a birth.
And
birth is laborious. It's a painful process.
There's a song called from Need to Breathe called it just escaped me, but it's part of the song that says, "Part of you's got to die to change."
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and when you think about the death of what, right?
Hard love. This one's,
I know that when I was going through my experience, and it was almost like a cathartic experience where for the first 6 months of training with my coach, I don't know why, I always I was just like a breakdown. I was like, why am I crying? And one of the things that I cried about was, what am I really teaching people? And it was letting go of what I thought I knew. And now that I'm actually
big.
on the other end and I'm teaching physical therapists, it's like our profession is evolving, and this is a beautiful thing. It's like, look at our phones. Years ago we had a beeper, and could you use a beeper? Sure, but why would you want to use a beeper if you have an iPhone?
Yeah.
This is what I like to, say about the work that I do now.
But I think it's beginning with your mind, the belief that you can, the belief that you're going to be okay no matter what. I mean, getting that up here, and no matter what.
Absolutely.
And taking some steps to do it. I mean, I really appreciate you coming on the show this week.
And
Thank you.
we
Thank
know
you for
it's been
having
of value
me.
to people who are listening, and for me too. I mean, I came to you because I couldn't even walk anymore. So
And we
thank
will-
you for your work.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
you all
Pleasure to
next
be
week.
here.
Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
Happy
weekend,
birthday again,
everybody.
Janine.
Happy birthday.
Okay. See you later.
She's a fellow.
Thank you for listening to the Momentum Mindset Show. For your hosts, Jay and Janine, we'll see you here next week. Thank you for being real, authentic, and honest.
If you'd like to reach us, please contact us on our Facebook page, The Momentum Mindset Show, or on our office phone line, which is 954-559-6987.
We are stronger together.
And remember, keep going.